Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Hodge here, or Josh, with my friend Victor. Victor, say
You always
hey.
do that. You always do that.
What do I always do?
You forget your name.
No, but I mean, like, you have to understand, like, that's what they know me as. Like, I guess, I mean, I don't know. Hey,
I
guys.
don't. I don't have an internet personality yet.
No, and that's what's weird. Like, I have to, like, use my, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Hey, guys. It's me and Victor again,
Take
and
five.
we're gonna talk about, we're gonna talk about movies again. We quite enjoyed that, and I love movies. I told you that last time. So today we're gonna cover another movie. The movie we're gonna cover today is Collateral, which I happen to love. It came out in 2004, which is when I saw it. And I actually went to the theater and saw it. Um, and I thought it was a fantastic movie. Victor, had you seen it before?
I have. It was something that I think I watched it when it came out on DVD or something because
Hmm.
I don't really go to the movies to watch movies. I don't like spending that kind of money. So,
Right.
anyways, just watched it normal time.
All right, yeah. I just remember the town that I grew up in, like the theater was closing down. It was like the last week the theater was going to be open, and I went and saw this movie, and that was the last one I saw at that theater. It was kind of how I kind of played that theater out. Anyway, so real quick, the plot of Collateral, and warning to everyone from this point on, pretty much, is it just safe to assume, like, I mean, there's going to be spoilers in these things, so.
Just yep.
But
Spoiled.
but basically, the plot of this movie is we have Jamie Foxx's character Max, is a cab driver in L.A. and you kind of get to see him for the first little bit of the movie, kind of just taking his fares around. He ends up getting a lady in his car in his cab who swears she knows how to get to her destination better than he does. So he kind of makes this kind of bet with her. Ends up getting her number and stuff once he gets there. They kind of hit it off. I'm going to come back to their relationship in a minute, but from there he gets another guy in his cab, who we kind of slowly find out is a contract killer, and he kind of hijacks the cab in a way. And so for the night, he is killing people. What Jamie Foxx doesn't know that at first. It kind of just he's kind of I would say thrown into it, but really it's thrown into him because he is
Quite literally thrown into him.
because he's kind of chilling in an alley waiting for Vincent, who has hired him for the night. He basically says, "I'll give you," and Vincent is Tom Cruise's character, the killer, and he's kind of, "I'll give you this much money if you just drive me around for the night, get me to the airport on time, so I don't have to run for my flight." And he's sitting there eating his sandwich, and a dude falls down, hits the cab, and really from that point on, we kind of follow this whole thing um, and see how it kind of plays out. And so that's kind of the quick rundown of the plot without telling you like exactly what happens, which we'll get to a lot of that later. But we wanted to come up with some sort of format to kind of do this a little bit better. So we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of each of the movies we talk about, and then kind of just like what we thought was really fun. We actually call it what to watch for. Kind of the thing that kind of sets it apart. I think is kind of where we're going with that.
Yep.
So that brings us to our pros, and for me, being the kind of the movie person I am, and knowing actors is like knowing them by their names, which Victor doesn't know that much. Um, Man, Jamie Foxx in this movie, like I didn't know until today that he was like nominated, but he totally deserved it because his acting in this movie is incredible. Um,
He does an amazing job of kind of getting into the role. He's very believable.
yeah,
You wouldn't be surprised if one day you saw Jamie Foxx in a cab driving around L.A. You
right.
know the personality that he has. So it's actually kind of a he does a really good job.
Yeah, I think maybe that's I was we were talking about this earlier. Like there are actors that get typecast, and Jamie Foxx is not one of those. I think he's very good at getting into a character. When you go to watch Jamie Foxx, you're not really watching Jamie Foxx, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
You got other movies like you got Denzel. He's a great actor too. Um, but he plays pretty much Denzel in every movie he's in. Tom Cruise is pretty much Tom Cruise in any movie he's in. But Jamie Foxx is something else. He's whatever the character is, and he falls into Max really well. Um,
Well,
I
just think of Ray. I mean,
yeah,
when he played Ray Charles, that was Ray Charles. That was not
Yeah, for sure.
anybody other than Ray Charles. And so Jamie Foxx has a way of really giving you a really clear picture of who it is that you're dealing with when you're watching these movies.
Yeah, and that's what I love because the Max character is this kind of he's reserved, he's kind of timid, got a little like an element of OCD going on with him. Um, Very thoughtful kind of guy. You can tell he's kind of a guy that like doesn't act a lot. He has these big plans and schemes and ideas, but you can tell he doesn't do a lot. Um, and to see him fall into that when I know he can do like like the Book of Eli, where he's just like kicking butt. That to me is a testament to him being a really good actor. Um,
That was Denzel. That was not Jamie Foxx.
you're right. You're right. What's wrong with
That
me
was
today?
that was a complete whatever that was.
Yeah, man, what is wrong with me today?
That was terrible.
Whew,
All right, do we need to just stop
right.
the video and just stop the audio and just start over? No, we don't. We're gonna keep going.
No, we're gonna keep going. I sucked. I messed that one up. And it's
That was
fine.
awesome.
Let me find another movie in my head. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that makes me a racist. That's what that does. Um, anyway,
Oh my gosh.
that Jamie Foxx, good job. I'm sorry I forgot your face for a second, Jamie Foxx. If you ever hear this, Victor, do your thing. What was your pros?
Well, I was telling Hodge, Josh, whatever his name is, on this crazy channel that he does.
Just say that.
Um,
Make it easier.
okay, Josh. Uh, the thing that stood out to me is I was telling Josh, I can't ever remember who's in a movie, but I always remember like the story of a movie,
Like I
like
can't either.
the plot point of it. Right? You can't either, apparently. And to me, what really made the movie believable was the interaction between Max and Vincent, between Jamie Foxx's character, the driver, and Vincent's character, Tom Cruise's character, because over the course of the movie, you really start to see a transformation in Max, in Jamie Foxx's character, because
Mhm.
all of a sudden he is starting to, for the first time, be challenged on the things that he's been doing, and probably one of the most significant moments in the movie for me was when Vincent challenges the fact that Max had been driving a cab for 12 years,
Mhm.
building the business that he has been dreaming about and planning for and strategizing about. He spent 12 years instead of just going out there and starting it on his own. And so you see this growth and transformation in him and this self-awareness that you just wouldn't even imagine at the beginning. You think, man, this guy's going to get killed at the end. This is going to be one of those movies where you're not going to get uh, any sense of satisfaction, and yet at the same time, he changes. He changes for a lot of different reasons. He changes because of the girl. He changes because of the realization of what's going on. He changes because of what's going on with his mother. All these things finally kind of come to a head, and it's just amazing to see that transformation in a character
Mhm.
played through this guy.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, One of the things I really like about this movie is the dialogue. I'm a big fan of it. But I like movies driven by dialogue. Um, and this has both. It has action and it has dialogue, which is good. But the scene where you're talking about where that kind of happens, it's Tom Cruise or the Vincent character in his in his own little humor that he has in this movie. He's very supportive of Max. It's like, oh, that's really cool. You got this business. That's awesome. He's like, how long you been driving a cab? And Max doesn't miss a beat, man. He's just like 12 years. And like in Max's mind, like that wasn't like this is just temporary. Like and he
Right.
literally says this is just something temporary on the side. And he's like, oh, how long you been driving a cab? 12 years. But like in his mind, that doesn't even register as being like not connect like not related. Like that doesn't it that seems right to him that that's temporary, but you've been doing it for 12 years, and you kind of get to see Vincent kind of poke fun at him
Yeah.
for that, but in a way that like it ends up being oddly inspiring for him, for Max over the course of the movie. And yeah, I was the same way. I was like worried watching it the first time. Like, is this guy gonna die? Because I don't want him to. Like, he's a good. I want him something. I want something good to happen here. But you kind of don't see how it can because of how good Vincent is at his job.
And the thing is, you don't see even Max when that first person gets killed in the night. He starts to realize he tries to talk himself out of the whole situation, and he's constantly trying to get himself out of it. And then when they kill the musician, the jazz guy, who's the third guy they kill,
Mm.
you all of a sudden you realize this is not going to end up well.
Right. Yeah. For someone.
And and Max just recognizes that he is stuck, and he's going to have to find another way out.
Hmm.
Which is what you see when Vincent tells Max to go in to get some more information, and Max plays Vincent, and you see this
Yeah.
awakening where he's acting bad and self-aware and
Hmm.
overly conscious. It's really kind of a crazy thing.
Yeah. It's a cool transformation, and more to my point I was trying to make earlier of just like the kind of acting capabilities that Jamie Foxx has to pull off that kind of transformation, mid movie. Um, so yeah, that's some of our pros. I mean, I could talk all day long about what I like about it because I really do think it's a really well done movie. But let's move on to the cons. For me, I was telling Victor that I kind of like a lot of my points were like filmmaker points. I thought, but my beef is that I felt like the movie stalled in a couple of places. Um, and I know they were like supposed to serve to like help us understand more about the character and kind of what's going on. But like the scene where Max is zip tied to the wheel of his cab. I got why we needed that scene because what happened is Vincent leaves him. Max is stuck to the car. He's like yelling and screaming for someone to come and save him, and basically he gets robbed.
Right.
And they rob him and they rob Vincent's briefcase while he's in killing somebody. And that scene is to show us kind of the guy that Vincent really is because so far he's been doing all his killing indoors, quietly, cleanly, minus the guy falling out of a building um, and onto a cab. But he's been trying to do this cleanly. He's been doing it for a while, and we realized that he'll kill whoever gets in his way tonight. So I understand why we have it, but that scene kind of drug for me. But more than that, there's a couple of drive-in scenes in the movie where there's just music playing and they're just driving, and that's fine because one of my points I'm going to talk about later is actually I like the music in this movie. But I don't know if you even caught it, but there's this like one part where they're like driving through the city and these just a lot of B-roll stuff is going on, and there's like a random shot of coyotes. You remember that? Have you?
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, I was like, what? Like, I felt like they ran out of stuff, and they're like, "Hey, we got some extra footage of some coyotes. You want to throw that in there?"
I think the point of that was, I actually, the funny thing is, I actually like that little scene
Hmm.
because it just shows the randomness of what's going on. You know,
Yeah,
you have a coyote in the middle of L.A.
you're
You
right.
know,
I can see
so
that.
yeah, so I mean, to me, I was just like, Max is just kind of coming to grips with his fate at
Yeah,
that point. He realizes this is just random,
random.
this crazy coyote in the middle of the road, you
Right.
know, and
Because
so
he
he's
does.
driving
He
around.
stops and like looks at it and stuff. Like it's kind of
Yeah,
a this moment of clarity for him. You're right.
yeah, yeah, and I think right after that is where you have the crazy scene where he almost kills them both.
Uh,
Uh,
no, that's actually a little bit. Well,
it's like close to that.
yeah. What's hard is it uses the same song in both of those scenes. I think it's two different. It might not be. You might be right. Um, but
I'll
yeah,
have to go back and check that. I watched that at 2 in the morning, so
right, right. My other thing was, and I understand why we needed it, but the romantic relationshipy thing between like the lawyer girl and Max, I don't know. We need it so he has her number so he can save her. Um, but I don't know. I felt like maybe it was a stretch, but maybe that's just me.
no, I think part of the thing is that he needed something to fight for
Hmm.
in this movie, and I think that's the only thing that happens. I actually liked that. I thought they could have done something to make that stronger. Like at the beginning of the movie, it's so awkward the way that she hands
Yeah.
the card. Like there's no sense of whatever. But I think that's kind of if you see the movie as coming out of Max's perspective, then there's nothing wrong with it being like that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I wanted to feel like it felt maybe a little contrived, but it's the only thing. It's the only vehicle that would get him there. Like there's nothing else in the movie that would have him in the same place. And really, there's nothing in the movie that he really cares about enough to stir him to action. Like if I'm thinking back on the movie, so we kind of did need something new in his life that would stir him to that. So yeah, I can see that too.
And I think you see it in his face at the very beginning where he starts to recognize there is life outside of this cab. You
Right.
know, he has this silly postcard that he looks at, and he takes a vacation 15, 20 times a day or whatever
Yeah.
ridiculous thing he said. I thought that was contrived. I thought that was ridiculous. Um, but I guess when you live in an urban jungle like L.A., you find other ways to do it. The one thing that I thought was just ridiculous, I thought it could have been handled a little bit better,
Hmm.
was how sloppy Vincent was in allowing Max to get the upper hand on him, stealing his briefcase, throwing it onto the freeway,
Right.
breaking everything up, and then completely destroying all his plans. And I'm like, okay, this guy is a trained killer.
Hmm.
Okay, this guy does this for a living. This guy's had already done it before because of the cop who made mention of a cab,
Yeah.
you know, or committing suicide and doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, how does a trained person do this? And I thought that was just so sloppy.
Hmm.
Um, but then again, it could just reveal, and maybe this is me thinking out now, it could just reveal the fact that Max had gotten to Vincent, that Vincent had somehow like humanized him, and he wasn't just a pawn, and so he kind of liked him a little bit, and so he let him kind of get away
Hmm.
uh, inadvertently because he let his guard down. I'm not even sure.
Yeah. I kind of think that I don't know if it's so much as like a respect sort of thing, or if I really think that Vincent thought that he had this kind of almost neutered guy that wasn't gonna. I feel like at that point maybe he's just like, well, he's not gonna do anything crazy.
Right.
Um, and one thing he never would have expected, because like the big scene for me that he actually like just kicks butt. It's my favorite scene in the movie. Is when he just starts like basically Max starts telling Vincent all the things Vincent's been saying the whole night, and then that kind of culminates in him wrecking the cab. And this moment of like, and I love a good like bad guy like look of panic on his face shot.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I love. And so I think maybe, man, he just like I think he got too comfortable. Like I think he really thought he knew who he was dealing with,
Hmm.
and not didn't even realize that like it's because of him that Vincent is changing. And it just all of a sudden it kind of hits him in this moment of like, holy crap, this guy was willing to kill himself if it
Hmm.
meant stopping me from killing more people. And at that point, I think Vincent just goes into I've got to get it done and get out of here um, kind of mode, and he does get really sloppy from that point on. I mean, the last bit of that movie is mostly Vincent just like going buck wild, trying to get something done, and really you can just see like he knows that this is not going well for him. He's trying to hold it together. He's trying to look BA. And he just, at the end of it, it just doesn't work anymore because he's changed Vincent so much that he's really almost dealing with himself, which is interesting because he pretty much that is exactly what happens. I think at the point that Max plays Vincent in one of the clubs,
Right.
I think really from that point on, Vincent is dealing with himself. He's having to deal with himself in the form of Max, and he
And he
loses.
and he doesn't know how to process that
Yeah.
because he is the one that's always instilling fear, and he is the one that's always in control.
Hmm.
And that's the thing, you notice that at the beginning because Max is tidies up his cab, he does everything in a certain way,
Right.
and the thing is, there's that one moment, and I don't know if anybody's ever going to notice it, but it's that one moment when he pulls out the brochure for the Mercedes, and he goes back and he pulls the flap over his bag and he touches it to make sure that everything is in order. I
Right.
don't even know if you remember that
Uh
moment,
huh.
but it's just like a typical example of how meticulous he is in making sure
Hmm.
that everything is in its proper place. And then all of a sudden, it's ripped out of his hands by Vincent in this crazy night. And then at the end, he like regains control.
Hmm.
He regains control of himself. He's thinking probably more clearly than he's ever thought about anything.
Right.
It's a really interesting just switch.
Hmm.
Um, and so, like, the things that I don't like actually advance the plot, but I wish that they would have been done maybe differently.
Yeah, it
And I'm
does.
not
It does
sure that I
sneak up on you kind of quick. It feels like. So I would agree with that. Um, all right. So what kind of sets this for me, like sets this movie apart, is the music. Um, it's not overbearing. But there are scenes in the movie that don't work without the music. One of them would be that driving scene that I was talking about. The only reason that scene is bearable for me is because it's set to a really good Audio Slave song. Um, and it's just got this really cool like do 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 do. It's got this really cool bass line going on, but it's a really chill song, and it works for that. But then you got Chris Cornell's voice, the guy from Audio Slave, and he's just killing it, and it works. It builds up the tension of that scene. That's really good. And the other thing I really liked that I thought of was all of the little venues where killing is going on. They
hmm
have their own feel. I mean, you have the jazz clubs, so you have like the jazz angle of things. When it's kind of a very slow scene, but it works because they got jazz music going on. Um, when these in the one club, I think Fever, the club Fever, where they go to kill, and you have like the awesome like techno stuff going on.
yeah.
Like that scene is so much better because of the music,
hmm
and it's almost that like because it's panic in that club, but it's like it's sweeping over the club in waves.
Yeah.
And so even though there's all this panic going on, the music never stops, and that's what I love about that scene. Because you would expect that in this club scene, once like stuff started going on, that music you'd get the standard like movie shot where like the record stops and
Right.
people start screaming, but you don't get that. Um, which
Because nobody knows if that's supposed to happen or not.
and
Because everybody's so in their own world.
I think with that in mind, it kind of to me is the point of the movie, is that sometimes they're just going to be people that don't notice. Um, and that's kind of where even Vincent ends up. He tells the story in the very beginning of the movie about a guy dying on the metro and nobody noticing for the whole day.
hmm
And that's what happens to him. He pretty much is going to die on the metro, and nobody notices. And there's this almost like underlying. Well, now we have to talk about society, like noticing things going on. And I think we see it played out there. But then we see it played out like maybe kind of in the background of that bar scene through the use of music, which I really thought was cool.
And it's not until the gunshots are going off that people start to really get panicked because, I mean, he's walking through and he's breaking people's legs.
Yeah, yeah,
He's kicking the fool out of folks. He's punching people and knocking them out. And it's not until the FBI show up and start trying to do whatever they're trying to do in the movie
right.
uh, that you really start to see the chaos break out. And so, Vincent's craziness actually isn't the cause of the
The
panic.
panic. Yeah,
It's actually the people who are supposed to bring order, which is kind of an ironic
yeah,
twist.
I like that.
Um, but for me, the thing to watch for, the thing that stood out, and I know it sounds kind of silly considering that it's a movie, but it's actually the acting. It's the way that Tom Cruise, even though he's doing the same thing he always does, interacts with Jamie Foxx, and the way that these two characters actually build and play off of each other.
Hmm.
There never seems to be a lull in the conversation. The timing always seems to be right. The emotion always seems to be right. The expressions on their faces always seem to be appropriate. That you really get more than just a story. You get the experience of actually being in that moment.
Hmm.
For me, the sign that it's a good movie is when I want to start yelling at the TV or the movie screen and talking to it and saying, "Get out of the way," or "You're doing something crazy," or "Watch out, he's behind." When you feel like you're in that movie and you're trying to help the characters out,
Right.
that's when I say, "All right, this has got me. It's got me in. I've bought into the movie," and that's the thing that from the very beginning, you really start that those images and those expressions and every single one of those movements builds and
Hmm.
builds and builds and builds, and then the only time you get a release valve, the pressure comes off, is at the end of the movie when everything is where it's supposed to be,
Hmm.
and you feel, oh, that's just such a relief. So that to me is the biggest thing. Just watch the acting. Really pay
Hmm.
attention to what's going on and how they capture each person. Uh, it's pretty interesting.
I agree. Fantastic movie. One of my, it's up there in my list. I won't say it's like my favorite, but it's a good ride. Definitely a watch for me. Definitely check it out for all those reasons, and hopefully we've inspired you to want to watch it because it is so good. Um, though if you're like a person who follows directors, don't there's no reason to watch Miami Vice. The guy that directed this directed Miami Vice, and I was like, yes, it's gonna be so good, and it was horrendous. It was so bad.
I haven't seen it.
It was so bad. I was like, yes, Michael Mann, Collateral, so good, and then man, he just butchered Miami Vice. Jamie Foxx was in that too, and he didn't do a good job.
Hmm.
But anyway, all right, guys, that's about it for this week or this time, and we'll see you guys next time for another movie. We hadn't decided what that is yet, um,
If you got
but
any suggestions, let us know.
yeah, put it down there.
We'll watch just about anything.
Just about anything. Yeah,
Just about anything. We do
Victor.
have standards.
Victor's a fraidy cat, so suggest all the horror movies you want to.
No, don't do
And
that.
all right, guys, thanks for watching or listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Later. Bye.